And we're live. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. My name is Zanera Ali. I am part of the marketing team at the NIC. Welcome to this another informative session with the SECP office. We have the honor of working with the SECP regularly, and we conduct these sessions to facilitate our ecosystem and individuals with the help of SECP. In today's session, we have our guest speaker, Sabahatul Ain. For the topic of this session, we will be talking about the registration regime for digital-only insurers and dedicated micro-insurers. For those of you who do not know about the NIC is an incubator in Islamabad. It's Pakistan's first and biggest incubator. It's a public-private partnership between Ministry of IT, Ignite, Jazz, and Team Up. And the SECP office we work closely with to facilitate not just our startups, but the whole startup ecosystem. So keeping up with the topic today, our speaker who has more than 10 years of experience working with the financial sector. She has an MBA from IBA Karachi, and she'll be talking about how the proposed regulatory framework and registration regime for digital-only insurers and dedicated micro-insurers is expected to enable the small entities. In order to significantly lower the barriers to entry for the innovators. In this session, you can also ask questions. To ask any questions, you can drop your questions in the comments in chat of Facebook Live, or you can drop them live on Facebook in the Q&A tab. Sabahat, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to an informative and interesting session. And if any questions come my way, I'll forward them to you. We should begin with your presentation. So if you could share your screen by sharing the slides, we can formally start the session.
Thanks, Sunera. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me here. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. So I'll just start sharing my screen.
Okay.
Is it visible?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So I'll be speaking about the regulatory framework for digital-only insurers and dedicated micro-insurers. SECP had issued this regulatory framework, which is draft shared as it is not notified. It was issued initially in June 2021 for seeking public comments. We received a lot of feedback from all the relevant stakeholders, which has been incorporated in the draft. The draft is in the finalization stage and will be notified after the due regulatory approvals. So let's see what's there in the regulatory framework. A little background into why we ventured into this area and why we formulated this regulatory framework for the digital-only insurers and dedicated micro-insurers. SECP notified the regulatory sandbox in 2019. The first cohort was announced in February 2020, in which we gave the approval for testing to first digital takaful. It is the takaful underwriting setup, which operates entirely on digital basis. Also, we have been receiving interest from various entities from time to time to operate entirely on digital basis. We had also conducted one webinar in November 2020, in which we had diverse participations from insurance companies, insurance brokers, other intermediaries which were not brokers, which used to operate on digital basis, State Bank of Pakistan, and we had received enormous interest with regards to development of digital insurance market. Also, in the backdrop of international developments in digital insurance and technological advancements that have been happening, it becomes all the more important for us to take actions to stay relevant and to develop the digital insurance landscape. So there arises a question that have we not done anything till date with regards to this segment? So let me answer this question. We currently have conduct requirements for digital insurance that is transacted by the licensed insurance companies currently. So there are certain provisions regarding storage and safety of data, communication of terms and conditions, when insurance is transacted through digital platforms, manner of exiting the agency agreement, file and use procedure. And these were initially notified in 2017 in a directive, and these were later incorporated in the Corporate Insurance Agents Regulations 2020. With regards to micro-insurance, conduct requirements are notified initially in the SEC micro-insurance rules, and the requirements primarily are around the code of conduct, consumer protection, sum insured limits on the basis of which micro-insurance product is defined, the key fact statement that is to be given to the policyholder at the time of product sale, transparency, fairness, disclosure requirements, and grievance handling. So these are the conduct requirements that are already in place with regards to digital insurance and micro-insurance to be transacted by the licensed and registered insurance companies. So the rationale for proposing this regulatory framework: reduction in product protection gap and increase in financial inclusion by increase in number of suppliers, improving the customer experience by use of new technologies, and providing affordable and such insurance products which are tailored to the customer needs, widening the product range, enhancing competition, and increasing access to insurance, as we expect that the new suppliers will be exploring the new market segments. Limited adoption of digital solutions by the existing insurers due to their different business model and due to their focus on entirely different customer segments. And we also feel that there are high barriers to entry for the fintechs and the startups in terms of paid-up capital and solvency requirements. And there are minimal business conduct requirements relevant to digital insurance operations. So what are the regulatory requirements for the digital only insurers and dedicated micro-insurance companies in the draft regulatory framework? There are registration requirements. There are business conduct requirements for digital only insurance companies that will be registered under this framework. And the digital only insurers will be required to demonstrate their operational readiness and technological capability at the time of applying for registration. There is fit and proper criteria for directors and the human resource of the digital only insurer. There is requirement for establishment of place of business for digital only insurer. There is requirement for round-the-clock customer facilitation and grievance handling. There's also that facilitation provided in terms of AML and CFT requirements for the digital only insurer, as the business is conducted through the digital modes. So provision of all the documents is practically difficult. So there is proportionate and risk-based applicability of AML CFT requirement for the digital only insurer, for the digital only insurance policyholder. And there is requirement for data security and confidentiality for the digital only insurer. So through this framework, there are registration requirements for both digital only insurer and dedicated micro-insurers, and business conduct requirements for the digital only insurer. With regards to dedicated micro-insurer, the business conduct requirements prescribed in the SEC Micro-insurance Rules 2014 will become applicable for the micro-insurers which will obtain registration under this regulatory framework. These are the details of the registration requirements. The information that an applicant needs to provide at the time of obtaining, at the time of submitting the application for digital only insurer registration. They need to provide the description of business model, market analysis, the customer segments they want to target, how they want to target those segments, what products and services they want to provide, what their distribution strategy will be, what the projected business volume will be, what the projected claims will be, what payment platforms they intend to use, how they will be building the partnerships for distribution, for payments, so on and so forth. And also, as they will be relying heavily on technology for conducting all of their operations, so there is requirement to conduct risk assessment and vulnerability and penetration testing. And also, they may be required to conduct the third-party system testing and audit. So with regards to paid-up capital and solvency requirements, the principle of proportionality is applied for both these entities, the digital-only insurer and the micro-insurers as well. For the full-fledged insurers, in the life category, the requirement is 700 million, and for non-life, the requirement is 500 million Pakistani rupees. But under this regulatory framework, the life micro-insurers need to have a minimum paid-up capital of 150 million rupees. Non-life micro-insurers need to have minimum paid-up capital of 80 million rupees. And life and non-life digital-only insurers need to have minimum paid-up capital of 250 million rupees. This is significantly lower than what the full-fledged insurance companies need to have. Likewise, the minimum solvency margin requirements are also proportionately lower. The solvency margin requirements for the life category are the minimum which are prescribed in the primary insurance law. So we actually did not have the room to go any lower than what is there in the primary law. So the regulatory framework also sets out the allowable classes of business. The life digital-only insurer will be allowed to conduct ordinary life business and accident and health business, and non-life digital-only insurer will be allowed to conduct fire and property, accident, health, marine, aviation, transport, under which motor business comes, agriculture insurance, and miscellaneous business, under which generally travel insurance for the consumer segment comes. So as the paid-up capital and solvency requirements are lenient, so these are expected to be small entities and are expected to be consumer focused, individual customers focused. That's why those classes are allowed under which business for the consumer segments are underwritten. However, also only protection products are allowed to be underwritten. However, SECP may give approval to underwrite saving products as well. For the dedicated microinsurance companies, the classes of business which are prescribed under the SEC microinsurance rules, only those will be allowed. And those are more or less similar to same as the ones which are written here. There are certain products, sum insured limits, which are here, to which the digital-only insurer will be subject to. These limits were initially lower, but have been revised upwards in the light of stakeholder input. As you can see that for motor insurance and for property insurance, the limits are as high as 5 million rupees. And these limits can be revised through notification going forward. As I mentioned earlier, that these limits, that the microinsurer will be subject to the limits prescribed in the SEC microinsurance rules. The limits for digital-only insurer are higher than those which are prescribed for the microinsurer, given that the microinsurance business is focused for the low-income segment. However, the digital-only insurer, despite being focused for the consumers and the individuals, it is expected to provide services to the social economic class A or B or C. So limits are kept higher. So these are the detailed conduct requirements for the digital-only insurer. In terms of competence and capability, the digital-only insurer needs to have at least 2 directors with 5 years experience in digital financial services or any relevant field. Also, digital-only insurer needs to have technology proficient human resource for conduct of business on digital basis. The digital-only insurer also needs to demonstrate technological capability to run digital operations, and it also needs to make its systems and processes available for inspection by the SECP. And the SECP might visit it and inspect its systems, technology systems, and other records or documents at its discretion. And the digital-only insurer also needs to comply with the SECP guidelines on cybersecurity framework. There are certain disclosure requirements and product filing requirements. Under the current regulatory framework of SECP, only the life insurance companies need to file the products with SECP. However, under this regulatory framework, the non-life insurance companies are also required to file the products. However, because of practical difficulty and the speed in the digital insurance business, the non-life insurance companies are mandated to file the products on retrospective basis, which means that they need to file the products on semi-annual basis after they have launched the product. The non-life insurance companies need to submit the product which they have launched in the past 6 months. At the time of product filing, they need to demonstrate that the products are suitable to the segments, to the customer segments to which they intend to distribute the product, and the products will be able to offer value to the customers. Also, the life and non-life both need to have free look period. Currently, this free look period requirement is for life insurance products only, with the tenure of more than 1 year. The digital-only insurance products also need to have key facts statement, and the insurer needs to provide key facts before the offer is being made to the potential policyholder. After the transaction is being made, after the policy is being purchased, the digital-only insurer needs to provide evidence of coverage to the policyholder. That's about the disclosures and product filing and the evidence of policy. There are certain other requirements with regards to data security and confidentiality. It is the sole responsibility of digital-only insurer to ensure the data security and confidentiality of the policyholder. Also, as the digital-only insurer will be operating entirely on digital basis, and there will be no face-to-face interaction, and that's why digital insurer will establish, that's why there's a requirement for digital-only insurer to establish place of business and facilitate the customer around the clock. Like I mentioned earlier in the initial section, that the AML and CFT requirements are applied to the digital-only insurer on proportionate basis. What I meant by that was that the information of source of income will suffice for the purpose of AML CFT, and the potential policyholder or the policyholder will not need to submit the document evidencing the source of income to the digital-only insurer for taking out the policy from such insurer. So this is one relaxation which is being provided in this regulatory framework. So we received stakeholder input from multiple, from from multiple entities and various categories of stakeholders, basically life and non-life insurance companies and the couple operators, the current participant in the regulatory sandbox, insurance brokers, which are currently working in the digital insurance space, microfinance sector. We had received interest from multiple entities which want to establish a digital-only insurance company, including from the microfinance sector and also the international entities also. And we received comments from independent firms. So that's about it. These were a few of the provisions of the regulatory framework that we have issued, and it is in the final stages and soon to be notified. If there are any questions, I'm right here. Let me know.
Amazing, Sabahat. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. I'm sure कि हमारे जो attendees हैं उन्होंने बहुत कुछ इससे सीखा होगा. We have a couple of questions. So मैं आपको I'll read them out to you and you can answer them through live session. We have with us Farah Badr. उन्होंने सवाल पूछा है कि I'm a corporate lawyer. My question is why there is no health insurance in Pakistan for private companies. Is that and what will be the legal framework if someone wants to introduce it?
Actually, she says that why is there no health insurance in Pakistan? Actually, there are two parts to the question. She asked that why there is no health insurance in Pakistan, talking about private companies, what will be the legal framework if someone wants to introduce it. Actually, there is Prime Minister Health Insurance Program, which is being expanded in a phased manner. It started from KPK and now Punjab has also adopted it. And from what I know, it is being adopted by the Sindh as well. And the second part for the private companies, there is Workers' Compensation Act and also the Industrial and Commercial Standing Orders Ordinance 1968, under which compulsory group life insurance requirement is there. So, which is not exactly health insurance, but that is life insurance requirement for all the employers to provide coverage to their employees. This requirement is there, but implementation of that requirement is responsibility of labor departments in their respective provinces. So that is the legal framework that is already there.
Okay, Farwa, I hope that answers your question. Next, we have Usama Nisar, who asks, who will carry out risk assessment? Who are classifying the standards for risk assessments?
I think there are IT firms who are authorized and who are qualified to conduct such assessments, and they can do it.
Okay. Sabahat, another question is, can the existing insurers operate through digital modes and underwrite micro-insurance products?
Existing insurance companies can conduct micro-insurance, complying with the conduct requirements which are already there in the SEC micro-insurance rules.
Okay,
and also the digital insurance.
Perfect. And are there any limitations that are applicable to micro-insurers?
Limitations, not exactly, but they do need to comply with the requirements, product and sum insured limits that are there in the microinsurance rules.
ठीक हो गया. And another question is, can the digital insurers do the kaful business?
Digital insurance companies, after obtaining registration with the SECP, will have to obtain authorization under the Takaful rules of the SECP, and after taking authorization and complying with the requirements of the Takaful rules, which are appointing the Sharia advisor and developing policies and conducting the Sharia compliance auditor and such other requirements which are there in the Takaful rules, they will be able to transact the Takaful business.
Okay. And Sabahat, there is this important question. As the digital insurer and micro-insurers are small entities, is the joint license considered for life and non-life insurances for single entity?
At this stage, joint license cannot be considered given the limitation that is there in the primary insurance law. As the primary insurance law, which is Insurance Ordinance 2000, which divides the insurance business into life and non-life insurance. So due to the restriction that is there in the primary insurance law, joint license cannot be considered. But going forward, if we are able to notify the amendments to the primary insurance law, we might consider this.
Okay, so Farwa asks a follow-up question कि अगर कोई already बीमार है और इंसाफ health card जो है उन पे apply नहीं हो रहा, so is there a way to hold the private companies accountable to provide health insurance, because a lot of private companies do not provide health insurance to their employees. So is there any regulation जहाँ पर उनको ये उनके लिए mandatory बनाया जाए कि आप provide करें अपने तमाम employees को?
Unfortunately, there is no such law at present which requires the private companies to provide health insurance or healthcare benefits to their employees. We actually sent a proposal to the Ministry of Finance some time ago, actually back in 2019, regarding formation of occupational health insurance. But it takes time for things to get expedited in the ministries and the government.
Okay, so inshallah we should hope for the best, and in the coming years there might be a law जहाँ पर private companies को भी cater किया जा सके. One last question. What will be the mode of an existing company who wants to do digital business? Is there any registration relation to the existing one?
Existing companies can underwrite digital business as they currently are distributing insurance through the digital platforms. Now they have to comply with the conduct requirements which are there in the corporate insurance agents regulation. And there is no prohibition on the existing registered insurance companies to underwrite the digital business.
ठीक हो गया. One last question from one of our participants who's raised their hand, Salim Mahmood. If you can unmute yourself and ask your question, Sabahat is here, so she can answer it. Salim Mahmood, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? आप म्यूट पर हैं तो आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए. Okay, no, moving on. Farwa Badr has a question, so we'll move on to her. Farwa, please अपने आप को unmute कर लीजिए.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, actually you're not getting my question. My question is, I'm a lawyer in a corporate firm. So we have some clients who want to start some kind of business in, providing health insurances to, people. So is there any way to get the company registered, and under which law it comes? under SECP laws?
Okay, so you want to be the provider of insurance. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, for anyone who wants to be provider of insurance needs to get registered under the insurance ordinance. Section 5 and Section 6 are the relevant sections, and then you need to read the insurance rules 2017, read the section rule 11 of the insurance rules 2017.
And then we can start a company providing
Yes.
health insurances. Right?
You need to form a public limited company, and the minimum paid up capital requirement is 500 million for a non-life insurance company. Health insurance business can be underwritten by a non-life insurance company and a life insurance company both. So if you want to start small, 500 million for a non-life insurance company should be the starting point.
And is there any other specific requirement from SECP?
There are a lot of requirements in terms of paid up capital, solvency requirements, having fit and proper people on board, having auditors, having yeah, these are the basic reinsurance requirements and multiple other requirements.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Farwa, for your questions. Thank you so much, Sabahat, for your time and such an informative session. I hope कि हमारे viewers का जो जितने भी questions थे and it increased their knowledge as well. If you have any feedback about the session, you can reach out to us through email. And if you have any questions for Sabahat, we can connect you with her and we can forward your questions as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in today's session. We'll be back next month with another session with the SECP office. So please stay tuned and keep an eye out on our social media platforms where we announce these sessions. Sabahat, Rasti, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll see you again soon. Until then, take care. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.